Hello and welcome back to another Wildfrost tier list. I am going to run through the items and the clunkers in this one. Shout out to Bist for putting this one together, given the tier list template, because oh man, I do not want to do this. I hate putting these together. Screenshotting all the items, yuck. Anyway, if you don't know me, hello, hi, I am the Wildfrost guy, one of them. Anyway, I play Wildfrost reasonably often, and, do okay. It's more like an 80-ish% win rate on my save file right now, 80 to 90, somewhere around there. I think that I want to preface this by saying, though, that tier lists are fairly meaningless. You don't really need to use them to get an understanding of the game. The best thing you can do is go play, but I can offer some of my insights on what's good and bad if you want to skip past that part, or if you just want to listen to me talk for a while. I do like yapping. So I'll go over the tiers real quick. Top to bottom, we have the God cards. There are only 2 God cards in this game. I think that there are exactly 2 cards that have almost no downsides ever. Cards that and actively make your run not just better, but define your run in a sense, which the justification will be important when talking about Snowcake. Spoilers. After that is the almost God cards, cards that are like really, really close, but not quite run warping. Still very good in every situation, but not entirely run warping. Really, really good. So cards that are just really, really good. Things that you should probably just always take, depending on the situation, though maybe you don't need it. I'll throw, you know what I'll do? I was gonna do an example list here and just go through some of the cards, but you'll get the feel for it. Solid cards, not too bad, not too good. Just like fine net positives for your deck. A big theory, especially early game, is that it's good to just add cards to your deck so that you have something to do other than play the base cards, because the base cards are not very good. So solid cards can't really do any worse or better. They're just solid. Infernoco tier, I named this something different last time I made this, but this is basically cards that are very just good for getting past the first major boss. I just call it Infernoco because Bamboozle is a little bit easier. These are the cards that are basically direct damage cards that are very good at making sure that you don't die to Makokos into Infernoco. Situational, which are going to be cards that are playable if you give me certain situations, right? So this is the tier where when I put a card in this tier, and then occasionally, and this happens in a lot of tier lists, I'll put something in this tier and then someone will go, oh, I actually think that this thing is really good because in this one circumstance, it solo carried my run. True. Very true. What about other circumstances though, right? There are situations where they're going to be good, there are situations where they're going to be bad. Just keep your eyes peeled. A large number of cards, maybe the majority of cards, are going to fall into this category because that is how card games are. You just have to be able to understand how things are in certain situations. And then lastly, why? Not a lot of cards are going to go in this tier, but why? Why would you click this? That's roughly how I'll break it down. So let's begin, shall we? Anything else I want to say? Any more prefaces? Now let's get to it. Okay, first up here is Agile Battle Axe. Agile Battle Axe is deal 3 damage and apply overburn equal to the damage dealt. It's like a hit effect, 3 hit. Hopefully you understand. Agile Battle Axe is solid. I don't think it's really, really good. I think it is fine. This is effectively a 6 damage card, and the overburn means that it's worth a little more. It's great for killing clunkers. It has a great benefit there. It also is solid if you're playing an overburn build. It synergizes with demonize if you boost it in some way as well, like a plus attack on it, although you probably don't want to do that. It just comes across as good, pretty much. It will do what it does. It's usually not worth skipping. And yeah, like you don't have to be playing overburn for this card to be good. That's important. This is Agile Candle. Agile Candle is situational. If you like and you want to have fun, I recommend you blind pick this card because there is enough overburn setup in the game between the units and your cards, and you'll see enough cards that you can probably put something together off of this. But I don't suggest it if you just care about winning. If you pick Agile Candle and you don't have any other overburn support as a baseline, this is just like taking a gunk fruit, which is obviously not very good. I do not recommend that. But if you have an overburn hero, for example, you can click this card every time and it's going to do great work for you, because if you have in these games, in any card game, if you have something that says double, it has a chance to just go absolutely insane. And especially on doubling overburn, You just have to be careful that this card isn't worthless. Edgel Skull, this card, I don't know where to place this or any of the on-kill effects. I will put it in situational. Here's the thing, there's exactly one situation for any of the on-kill cards, or not on-kill, but kill and ally cards. The only situation where you would pick this is with Snuffer Mask, because otherwise, sacrificing your units is just not very good. It's okay, but you're better off not adding cards to your deck that can't do anything if you don't have a sacrifice, right? If you don't have a card on the board to sacrifice, especially early game, when the only thing you can really play for a sacrifice is Jun, this thing is like terrible. But you can probably play it with Bird if you want. I just don't recommend it. It's just not very good. There's better things to do. Maybe with Bird, maybe with Chikachi, but with the addition of Snuffer Mask, I think that the kill and ally cards got very slightly better. I will give it that. This is Bebop Mask. Oh, Bebop Mask is really, really good. Yeah. I think that this is maybe a surprising placement for people, depending on how you feel about cards like Bebop Mask, but one thing that you're going to notice, especially as we get further into this tier list, is that there's a great amount of value on... Whoa, my zoom reset. What the heck? My bad. I didn't mean to click that. There's a great amount of value on chump blocking, especially in Shademancers. I think that if you want to win with Shademancers, a lot of times you're just going to be stalling because they can stall forever with chumps, and Bebop Mask is a really good chump blocker. The only problem is that he does not play well into sacrificing because you don't get any value out of sacrificing, but it's not that big of a deal. You plays Bepops and you can kind of just live forever because they take damage for you and they do overburn, which is strong. Especially good early. Super, super strong early and scales well. Berry Basket's situational. Sorry, I haven't been saying what the cards do. My apologies. I did it for the first one and then I forgot. This is deal 1 damage, double overburn. This is kill an ally. I think it's apply 4 overburn to the frontmost enemy. And summon Bebop summons a 1 HP guy who, when killed, applies 4 overburn to the attacker. Berry Basket is heal 2 health to all allies and cleanse. This will cleanse Clunkers even though they don't heal from it. It will still give the cleanse effect, which is good. But basically, Berry Basket is good if you have something worth cleansing. Heal 2 to all is very underwhelming. I would not really want to pivot my run around this. Sometimes it's better than nothing at the start of the run. If the other 2 cards in the pick do absolutely nothing for you, the option to heal is not terrible because your health is not renewable in any of the clans except for Shademancers, where you can play Juns over and over again. So having the ability to get health back is not terrible at the start, and you can extend your fight a little bit into like Infernoco or the Jabjots, I guess, if you're in a really bad spot. But it's not great. This card does the best work in Clunk Masters, where you can cleanse bomb from cards like Blaze Bomb off. But for sure, it's good when it's good, and it's okay when it's bad. I'm not going to rank the starter cards. I don't think it really matters. You shouldn't... I don't think that relative power level of a card that you start with matters because you don't have to make a choice. You're not giving something up to take Berry Bell. It's just there. So I'm not going to rank that. Berry Blade is very, very good. I was shocked when they buffed this card in the patch before this one. Deal 4 damage, heal the frontmost ally for the damage dealt is very good. Important to note, if this puts a 4 into a scrap health, even though it will only reduce the scrap health by 1, you'll still heal 4. Same for hitting into block. Pretty much every circumstance where it hits, it will heal for 4. It's really good. Kill enemies in the backline early, heal yourself late. Great. Extremely, extremely good card. Pretty much always worth picking up. Bink is, I would say, situational. I was a pretty big Bink hater until this update. I clicked on it a few times lately. It's okay to have a second source of ink. It makes some fights a lot simpler, especially the Warthog fight. Having a second source of silence means that it's a lot easier to make sure that Razor doesn't scale up on you, which is not bad. The other thing is that with the change to Demona, this can be apply 1 demonize to all enemies. because sorry again, I'll get it in my head. This is apply 2 ink to all enemies. When before nerf, when it was 3 ink to all enemies, this card was super broken. It was like an always click. At 2 it's kind of whatever because you only get 2 turns out of it, and the first turn is the turn that you play it, so you don't get a lot of value out of silencing typically. But generally I think it's okay. It's sort of like a card that I take and then I go, well, Bink didn't really do anything, but at least it was here. So I don't care too much for it either way. I think it's kind of like a non-impact. But sometimes if you're playing, especially if you're playing non-10 bells, if you're playing like a lower difficulty and you're seeing nightmare leaders that you've created and can't beat, Bink stocks go way up because silencing is usually the answer to bad teams that you've created. So it is worth considering for that, and it helps into the Frost Guardian too. So it has some places, but I don't know. I kind of just feel like it's whatever. Bitebox. So one thing about Bitebox, I'm going to say this now, I should have said it at the start. Every single clunker in this game is not going to get rated lower than solid, because every clunker does the same thing for you at the end of the day, which is get hit and then do something else. And the ability to take damage for you and not take an injury or take any debuff into the next fight is extremely good. Very, very good. Like, I have to emphasize, extremely, extremely good. Bitebox is a step above solid because it does something useful on top of just getting hit for you, but every clunker at its worst will get hit for you. This doesn't mean that you should click every single clunker because you will flood your deck too much if you click every clunker, but it's good to have like 3 to 4 of them in the deck to just chump hits for you in the final boss. If you fill up too much, then you start losing value because of barrage on the final boss, on the true ending boss, that is. Not the Frost Guardian, but the Frost Gang is what I'll call them. So just wanted to get that note in there first. Bitebox is 1 scrap health, and when it gets hit, it deals the damage it takes back to the enemy. So if someone hits it for 6, it deals 6 back to them. This card is really good because it does 2 things. 1, obviously, it takes a hit for you. 2, it stops an enemy that gets trapped behind the Frost Guardian from just ending your run because you can kill them, which is very nice. It helps a lot. Pushing the ability to just snipe someone in the back is strong, and it'll push some good damage through the mid game as well. If you're playing Snow Dwellers, you can play a build based around just spamming shell on this guy, and it's fun, but kind of impractical, I find. Okay, Blank Mask is summon a copy of an ally. So you play this on an ally, you get a summoned copy of them. The summoned copy inherits the summoned effect where it counts down its turn timer and then it loses health when it goes to 0. The summoned copy will always start at full turn timer, and it will copy any effects like block, or if they're snowed, or if they're buffed, anything like that. It's an exact copy. This is, without a doubt, the strongest card in the game. There is, and I mean this truly, there is no situation where Blank Mask is bad across any clan. Even if you pick it up on the gnome, in no situation in this game is Blank Mask bad. You can try to create one, but I think it's very hard. Here's your situation. You have a run that is so strong that you're going to turn 1 kill the Frost Gang because it's like an X6 Soulbound Skulls. And even with that, Blank Mask will just make it smoother to get to the end. This is, like, by far, it's not a question in my mind. It's not even a contest. This is in a tier of its own. It's so strong. Like, unbelievably strong. I have to put an emphasis on it. I don't need to, there's so many things you can do with it. I could probably make a whole video of builds that just add Blank Mask and then win for free. It's crazy how good this card is. Up next is Blaze Bomb. I think Blaze Bomb is, it like teeters right on the edge of solid. It's like somewhere in here. The ability to add Frenzy is strong, so I think I'm gonna put it in really, really good, but you could probably drop it down. It could go either way. Blaze Bomb is, it has no targeting requirements. You can put it on an enemy or an ally. It applies 4 bomb and 1 frenzy to them. So you can use it offensively to make an enemy take 4 more damage per hit, or on yourself to give yourself frenzy. The big thing about Blaze Bomb is that you can put Cake Charm on it, and if you give an ally 5 frenzy, you probably just win the game. So it's usually just good to take because it has an auto win condition, and in the worst case, you put it on someone who's not supposed to get hit anyway, a weak backliner who's going to get one shot no matter what, and then you just give yourself frenzy, and that's good. Important thing to remember though with Blaze Bomb is don't put Frenzy Charms on Blaze Bomb and like don't replay it on your units because it does hit them for 0, and if they have 4 bomb on them they will take 4 and sometimes die. Just keep that in mind. Blaze T is next. I think Blaze T is like, I'm gonna give it solid. I think it is, Blaze T is definitely good when it's good. This is, it's apply to an enemy or ally, no targeting requirements. It's +1 turn timer countdown, so if they go from 4 to 5 or 5 to 6, and frenzy. So it's a very well balanced card because you can't do anything super broken with it. Basically, if you have a character who has a high turn timer and a big attack already, giving them an increase in their attack timer to make them hit again is very good. An example of this is like Nom and Stompy or Nova, for example. Nova almost just solo bumps this card up to really, really good because Nova solos the game with this, but I'll put it in solid for now. If you have a low turn timer unit like Blunky who's attacking very fast, you don't really want to give them Blaze T and then slow their attacks down because you're winning through the initiative. But it's strong for sure. It's a good card. Just be sure it's not terrible because going first is very good for you. So if you're losing the ability to go first to do like 3 extra damage, not really all that good. Bling Bank is really, really good. The early game of Wildfrost is all about money, and Bling Bank is all about money. Bling Bank is trigger when an ally is killed, or trigger when an enemy is killed, gain 4 gold. Or bling, I suppose. You can now frenzy this in the update. It was changed, so you can make a ton of money. You can do your cool Mama Tinkerson Bling Bank shenanigans and go crazy. It's very fun if you hit it, but this card just makes you money. It stabilizes your early game because you don't have to play so greedy for multi-kills to be able to sustain yourself through the money problems. And then you get a nice chump blocker in the end game. Solid. Blizzard Bottle's the starter card. This is Blunder Tank. I know what you're gonna say about this, but Blunder Tank is really, really good, and I'll tell you why. It's actually one of the easiest cards to place in a high tier. This card has 2 scrap. I don't care about its effect. I actually do not care. It doesn't matter what it does. Blunder Tank, if you don't know, it does 5 damage, and it triggers when a junk is destroyed. So you recycle something, Blunder Tank attacks. There are cool combos with this, with the new guy Needle that you can run, or just destroying junk yourself through many different ways. I've done none of them, and I don't care. I still think Blunder Tank is incredible. It's so strong that in a run recently, people are still giving me shit for this. I picked Blunder Tank with an ink charm, so it couldn't attack, right? It was inked for 4. I picked it over zoomlin wafers, and people were like, I can't believe you did that shit. Blunder Tank then, if you watch that video, because everyone in the comments was going, oh man, I can't believe it. You really picked Blunder Tank there over zoomlin wafers. I thought zoomlin wafers was better than nothing. Blunder Tank saved my run in the next fight. Having the ability to chump a hit and then potentially sneak in like 5 damage makes life so much easier. Even if it triggers once, it's great, but if it doesn't, you're still getting value. Shout out to Blunder Tank. Bombarder goes in solid. I don't like Bombarder. I think the effect on it is pretty bad. This is 0 attack, trigger against any enemy that's a hit with bomb. So it'll just hit enemies with bomb when they get bomb applied to them. The only real unit that uses this practically is Fizzle. And you can do some cool shit with Fizzle, Mega Mimic, Bombarder that attacks forever. Or like regular Mimic as well. Both are strong. Fizzle goes and you just push out a ton of damage. And it also is pretty strong if you have Barrage. But mostly, I think that this card is just pretty bad. But it's good if you need a chump blocker. It's definitely one of the worst ones, though. Bomb Barrel is really good. The ability to put 4 bomb on a row of enemies, it does so much for you. The ability to make junk is also very good. This card is apply 4 bomb and gain 4 junk in hand. It's trash 4, I guess. And this has Barrage. Mainly, it just pushes a bunch of damage out for you, and with the addition of zoomlin wafers, this card is a good piece of an Exodia combo where you go Bomb Barrel, Lumen Vase, zoomlin wafers. That gives you 8 junk and 8 bomb on 3 targets in the final boss, and then you zoomlin wafers, and all of those junk can be played for free to deal, was that 8 times 8, 64 damage to one target. You can basically just kill the Lancer or the Bomber on turn 1 or severely wound the Junker with just 3 crowns, which is good. No, 2 crowns. Yeah, 3 crowns. And even without, it's good to have bomb barrel to just put damage on enemies. But it's important to note you should press the redraw bell sometimes. Like, you should just not play this sometimes. You have to be aware of how long the fights are going to go, because when you put bomb barrel out, your deck gets a lot worse. Bone Scraper is an Infernoco card. This is deal 5 damage, and enemies killed with this count as sacrifices for you. I've actually not had a reason to click this yet, but I think it is hypothetically good. The ability to click an enemy for 5 is pretty strong, so I don't know. The when they die trigger sacrifices effect doesn't really matter, because you still need to put something meaningful together for the final boss, because on-kill effects are not good there. But, you know, it's okay. Clockwork Bomb, I think, is definitely going to go situational here. I want to reference what I said last time. What did I say? Yeah, this card's situational. I don't really know when you want this. It's like fine if you have a strong bomb build. But usually, I just don't really see why you would do this. This is, I think it's 1 damage, or no, it's 2 damage and apply 3 bomb with critical. It can put 6 bomb on a single target, but that requires a lot of things to go right, and I think generally speaking, going for single target damage is not that good in Clunk Masters. I don't know. It's kind of whatever. Yeah, I don't have any strong feelings. I feel like usually it's not worth picking. Usually the other cards in the pick are better, especially in this clan where you could just click another Clunker. Demon Heart is apply 1 Demonize and heal for 9. This does not increase max HP like Pinkberry Juice does. The situation where this is good is one where you want the Demonize to burst an enemy down, not too often that it happens, or you have someone like Berry Sis and you just want to heal them. This card is extremely broken if it gets the -1 Cursed Charm, the one that takes 1 off of the effects, because it takes the Demonize away and turns this into heal 8, which is unbelievably strong. Dragon Pepper is apply 7 spice to a target, consume, goes away after you use it. 7 spice is very good, +7 on an item to kill an enemy that's scary, +7 one hit on a multi-hit unit, really good, +7 on a single hit, really good. Damage output is strong. The end. What did I call Fallow last time? I definitely called it, yeah. When I did this last time, it's just some of them I can see myself rating differently. Intuitively, to me, I think Fallow is really, really good, but I was like, you know, I haven't clicked Fallow pretty much at all in this update, but I don't think that's Fallow's fault. I think I've just been shown bad Fallows. Fallow summons a 2/6 summon with Barrage on a 3-turn timer. You pretty much just use this to block. I don't think that there's a whole lot of builds where you want to buff up Fallow. I'm not really looking for it anyway. I don't know. The ability to block 6 damage is good. Sometimes I miss the 8 HP, but it had to be done. Foggy Brew. Foggy Brew got changed in this update. This is apply 1 haze, consume. It lost its aimless. This card is an almost god card. The ability to pick an enemy and tell them to skip their next turn is unbelievably strong. No snow requirements, no nothing like that. You click an enemy with this card, they miss their next turn. And not only do they just miss their next turn, they hit one of their allies. The ability to put this on the bomber, in some situations, moves the threat needle from 4 turns into 8 turns, and sometimes if you were able to take 2 hits, it moves you from 8 turns to 12 turns. It just puts you so far ahead of the kill conditions in the final boss. It's crazy. It's so good now that you can choose who it gets hit by. Or who it hits, I should say. This is Forging Stove. Forging Stove is destroy a card and add its attack to a random ally. The problem with Forging Stove, I'm going to put this probably in situational. The problem with Forging Stove is that it's really dependent on crowns, because the randomization of this, you almost never want this to go to your leader. So you need to be able to play the unit that you want this to go on, plus Forging Stove, plus the card you want to consume, which is hard to do because that's 3 of your crowns, and sometimes runs only get 4 or 5 crowns, right? Depending on how the shops roll. So it's hard to dedicate that for an attack increase, I find. But if you can, and you can put this into like Foxy can just start hitting 11 times 3 right out the gate, and you just sort of steamroll. So it's not terrible to blind pick Forging Stove because it does put a lot of value on the board. It's just like messy, I think. It's very expensive. This is Frenzy Wrench. Frenzy Wrench is recycle 2 and apply Frenzy to a card in hand. Situational. It's like if you are making so much junk that you have no idea what to do with it all, you can click on this card. Or if you have some card that you really want to have hit multiple times, or if you have a way to like cake charm this and then make enough junk for it, usually it comes through like cake charm, frenzy wrench, then you have a requirement of 6 junk, and then you play like lumen vase bomb barrel that makes you 8 junk, and suddenly you can apply 5 frenzy onto a target. But it's a lot of hoops and it's a lot of crowns, and I've been finding that it's just not worth spending all of those crowns all that often. But it is okay. There are times where this card goes crazy. This is Frostspell. Apply 2 Frost Barrage. Frost is weakened. They lose 2 damage on their next attack. Card's solid. It's a good defensive option. No real problems. I think the only issue is that it's like hard to justify paying $50 in a shop for this card, and a lot of times it's up against better cards. So I don't pick it all that often, but I don't think it's Frostspell's fault. A lot of times though, the game plan is just to kill enemies before they hit you rather than Frostspell to defend yourself. It's good for like spike builds, I guess. Don't play those. Hey, hot tip here for you. This is just a general tip free of charge in this tier list. Don't play teeth builds. They're really bad. Okay, this is Frostbite Shard. Frostbite Shard is consume and it reduces numbers on a card by 1. So like, and there's a key to this. If a character's numbers on their card are in yellow, they are affected by increase and decreases. So for example, Shen has increased by 1 when hit. You cannot increase or decrease this number because it's white. So Frostbite Shard would not change that, but it changes things like Mega Mimic's Scrap Lost on attack to 0. This card is situational. The situation is that you have a character who you want to reduce by 1. Playing this on enemies is almost never correct. I can't really foresee a reason why you would. So I would not suggest it. Frostboom, same as Frostspell. This is single target, 3 weaken on them. Same as Frostspell. It's okay. Usually there's a better card, but it's not a bad pickup one way or the other. Fungal Blaster. It's really, really good. Well, it's like, I think Fungal Blaster is like I almost need to rank the Clunkers separately. Maybe I'll do that. Because Fungal Blaster, within the context of Clunkers, is situational. And the situation is you have good poison output, but in the grand scheme of things, it's still a clunker, so you can blind pick it. So I don't know. I'll just talk about it like this for now. I'm going to pick, basically, I think if the clunkers have a situation where they perform well, they're going to go up a tier. Otherwise, they're going to go in solid. Fungal Buster is when an enemy dies, they pass their poison onto a random enemy. The big tech with this is you play 2 of this card, you duplicate it, and then it double dips. So one enemy with 4 poison dies, and they both proc and pass on 4 poison. So you just kind of grow exponentially. Every time an enemy dies, you double poison. It requires a little bit of effort on your part to make sure that enemies are summoned in to carry on the poison, and some fights will stop you. Like Razor, you can't pass the poison onto, for example, because he has 6 units on his final wave. But it doesn't matter too much. You just kind of kill one of them and then the plague respreads. There's a bunch of weird tech that is involved with this. It's hard to put it all into words in a way that makes sense in this video format, but basically, if you picture in your head, close your eyes with me, and picture in your head a board full of 6 enemies, and imagine the order they attack in. That's like 1 is the top left, 2 is the one below that, 3 in the middle, and so on, middle top, and so on and so forth, right? Enemies will tick down their poison in order from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Enemies further in their turn order that have poison on them can die from Fungal Blast or passing poison to them, which is basically to say, if an enemy hasn't taken poison yet and they have poison on them already, Fungal Blaster will add the current poison to them. But if they don't have poison, they won't take poison in the poison round. And that's a lot of words and very confusing. I can't really explain it any better than that, though. Just play with it yourself, you'll see what I mean. Up next is Gachapomper. I think I said at the start there are 2 god cards. This is the other one. Gachapomper is definitely very close to the best card in the game. It's not quite, because there's 2 things. The Blank Mask is immune to Curse Charms, because I think the only one it can take is Aimless, and you don't care about that one. Gachapomper can get silenced, which sucks a lot. And 2 is that there are some situations where Gachapomper is not very good, like you already have a Barrage Charm, or I don't know, if you're if you're finding it on the gnome, it's bad with Monch, I guess. It's hard. That's like a very obvious niche circumstance. Gachapomper gives Barrage to all allies in the row, and this card is really broken. It's just super good. The ability to barrage enemies makes your life a lot easier. Click Gachapomper, you'll win more games. This is GG's Cookie Box. Consume and apply 1 scrap to all allies. This card was bugged when they updated it to this new version. It would only apply scrap to a random ally. It sucked, and now that it's changed, it still sucks. I don't really know why you would ever click this. Yeah, nah, I really don't know. I played it recently, actually. I put it into my run. I was playing double ICGM, so having 1 more proc on their Frenzy was not needed. I was still winning by so much it didn't matter, but I did click on GG's Cookie Box in that run to see if it did anything. I would not suggest clicking on this card. This is GG's Gizmo, which is recycle 1, apply +1 scrap to an ally, and draw 2. This card gets to go in situational. I originally, when I saw it come out, thought this card was super broken because the ability to draw cards is very strong in Wildfrost, but it turns out that it's not all that good because you have to have a clunker on the field. So sometimes you will just not draw this plus junk plus have a clunker out in time. Sometimes they'll kill your clunker. Sometimes you'll just not draw the junk with it. And all of that effort is to draw 2 cards and then put a +1 on junk head usually, which is not all that good. But sometimes you actually want to play this because you have a lot of junk and it's an okay card to play if you have the clunkers for it. Because draw 2 is good in junk builds. It's not a bad pickup. Okay, this is Grabber next. Grabber is situational. Grabber is a zoomlin, deal 1 damage and pull the enemy to the front. It's a yank card. So it's a free card and it deals 1 damage and it's okay. But it's like there's 2 things you want to do with this. Option 1 is it's nice if you need a sacrifice in the Shademancer clan because you can use this on clunkers of your own to kill them instantly without spending a turn. That's solid. Option 2 is typically if you're playing Snow Dwellers, you'll find yourself in this position where your build looks really good, but you can't kill enemies that get stuck behind the Frost Guardian. So you can click on Grabber to just pull them to the front for free, which is useful. Other than those 2 situations, I mean, it's okay to be able to ping for 1, but usually it's better to draw a different card. Haze Balloon is scary. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is 1 scrap health. When an enemy kills it, double their attack and then haze them for 1. So they'll hit twice as hard and haze them, but they keep the attack increase. I'm just going to put it in solid. I think it's, of the clunkers, it's the one that's the most scary. And, you know, actually, you know what? I'm going to drop this pretty low. I actually think that this card is, like, terrible. I don't know. No, you know what? I'm actually going to drop this all the way to the bottom. I've thought about it a little more. The problem with Haze Balloon is that, so Clunker's jobs in the final boss, it's to tank either the Bomber or the Lancer for you. And when this tanks the Bomber or the Lancer, it doubles their attack. And they will do like, what, the Bomber will do like 10 to its allies. It's not enough to make a meaningful difference. And then you're taking 10s for the rest of the fight. That's really bad. I don't think I've clicked Haze Balloon. It hasn't really clicked until I've done this video now. This card's terrible. I don't think you should click this. I think it actually makes your run a lot worse. Wow, I didn't even think about that until now. Interesting. I'm not ranking Gunk Fruit. This is Haze Keg. Haze Keg is situational. Haze Keg, it's funny because Foggy Brew is almost a god card and Haze Keg is situational. The effect of Haze is very strong. Making the enemies miss a turn and hit one of their allies is extremely powerful since it bypasses snow resist. The problem with Haze Keg is that, especially if you pick this early, you're not going to be able to play it. Haze Keg is apply 1 haze, recycle 2, so you have to have 2 junk in hand. It's super hard at the start of your run to have 2 junk and Haze Keg in hand. So a lot of times this is just a curse. Later on, once you get some junk production, it can be okay, but I think the only situation where you would reasonably click this early on is if you have like Fulby or Skaven in your deck so that you're sure that you'll have the junk for it. This is Heartforge. I think Heartforge is really good. This is when an ally is healed, they gain twice as much spice. It chumps a hit for you, and it can just give you a bunch of damage for free, incidentally, by doing things that you already wanted to do. This card's very strong. And it pairs very well with the next card, Heartness Station. These two together just kind of make you a monster at the start of the run. Heartness Station is when hit, heal for 1, so it's suddenly when hit, heal for 1, and gain 2 spice. Super strong. But Heartness Station on its own, the effect is nice. The ability to heal just a little bit is good, and it can chump block when you need it to. Great card. Strongly recommend clicking on this one. This is a Hongo's Hammer. I think Hongo's Hammer is solid. It's a little worse than Azure Battle Axe, but obviously you're never going to see them side by side. This is deal 1 damage and apply 3 Shroom, which is poison. It's nice because it takes 2 HP off of Clunkers and kills them over time. It deals like 7 damage over 4 turns, and that's pretty nice for 1 card. It's good damage. Strong early, okay late. You know what? I'm actually going to drop this down. I think this is Infernoco tier. I overrated this, actually. I think that while the Overburn card, the Azure Battle Axe, is pretty good later in the game, I don't actually think I would ever click this after Infernoco. Yeah, no, I actually don't think I would. Okay, Ice Dice. This is randomly apply 1 block to an ally and an enemy. This card, up until this update, was bar none the worst card in the game. It was absolutely unclickable. People would give me their hypotheticals and I would just laugh. You would tell me your situation. Oh, I had Cake Charm, Ice Dice, and then I gave it a Lumen Base, and then my hero had 10 block. Yeah, and so did the fucking enemy, dude. Imagine you do that and then you put 10 block onto the Junker and you actually just can't kill it. It's so bad. You're just gambling for no reason. But Ice Dice has been brought out of the doldrums by Nova. They put a unit that's so broken into this game that it pulls the worst card in the game up to her level, because suddenly you don't care where the block goes on your allies because Nova just wants someone to have block so she can see it go away and attack. You don't care where the block goes on the enemies because she hits everyone, so you're gaining value anyway. So if you have Nova, you click on Ice Dice. That's just kind of how it is. Unless there's a card there that's better. Like, you don't need Ice Dice if your Nova's just one-shotting everything through spice stacking, for example. Then you just click more spice cards. But, yeah, I mean, Nova really pulled this thing out of the shit. ICGM is like... I'm actually willing to give ICGM a very high rating, like a near top tier rating. ICGM has 3 things going for it. Number 1, if you don't get anything good for it, it just takes 3 hits for you. Number 2, if you have Forging Stove, this lets you pass 10 damage to your carry. Number 3, if you have like a Spark Charm, this just hits a 40 at minimum. You get to half health the jailer for 1 charm. And then number 4, if you hit that Spark Charm early enough, you can duplicate it or play it with like Gachapomper or Barrage, and suddenly you just solo win the run. So ICGM has a lot of good things going for it. What this does is it has 3 scrap, and when it triggers as a 13 turn timer and it deals 10 damage, when it triggers, it gains Frenzy equal to its scrap. So if it has 3 scrap, it deals 4 hits of 10, because it'll go times 4, basically. It's a little unintuitive because of the wording, because you would think gain 3 frenzy, oh, that means attack 3 times, it actually means attack 4 times. It gains 3 extra hits is the way that it should be worded, in my opinion. But anyway, basically, this card is good if you don't hit anything for it. It's great if you hit a synergy for it that your characters need, like Forging Stove, and it solo wins you the game if you hit the correct setup for it. It's nice across the board. It's a really easy card to click on. Kabonker is just going to go into... Kabonker is going to go into Solid. This is a very important distinction, though. I think that Kabonker's actual power level is going to go up 1 tier if it's like up to me only, but Kabonker is a card that will just kill you sometimes, and that is not good. If you're newer to the game, I do not think you should click Kabonker, because there's so many things going on in a run of Wildfrost. And if you're just sitting there playing on 10 bells, you're playing this super juiced Kabonker run, and some enemy spawns in with a snowball charm, you overlook it, suddenly Kabonker kills your hero. That's not good. You do have to be aware of that. But once you get better at the game and you start to understand things, Kabonker is really good, because you can just hit like Kabonker plus Snuffle and solo carry off of that, right? But I'm gonna put it in solid. This is like a very heavy asterisk of don't click this until you're a lot more comfortable with Wildfrost, or just be ready to triple check everything he does. Oh, sorry, I also forgot. Clunker deals 3 damage and triggers on any enemy that has snow applied to them. I'll try to say the thing first. I've been like, in my mind, it was like, give my base opinion, place it, and then say what it does. But I'll probably say what it does first. Chrono is apply 1 frenzy to all allies that don't have a crown. Surprisingly, pretty bad. That effect is not very good. I will give it solid because it does just take a hit for you, and it's a lot better in the early game. The ability to hit twice. Basically, you're not going to have crowns on all your guys, but later in the run, you're just going to slap crowns onto your guys, and that's kind of just how it goes. You can play Kabonker around the Frenzy if you get Zoomlin Nest, so the cards are free, and you get the Charge Bell, so you can always draw them. But if you don't have proper setup, sometimes what's going to happen is you're going to Chrono, turn 1, and then your carry is going to be the last card in your deck, and then you're going to lose the game, and you're going to go, wow, well that wasn't very good. So you have to put a lot of effort into avoiding that situation, and I just think it's not really all that worth it. Leech Mask is situational. When Leech Mask is good for your run is very bad. This summons a guy on the other side of the board, so it summons an enemy with, I think it's 3 HP that deals 2 damage on a 3-turn timer, and it attacks you, important to note, but when it triggers, it steals 3 HP from all enemies. So if your run has no damage output whatsoever, but you have very strong defensive capabilities, you can slap Leech Mask down, and then eventually you'll win the fight. And that's basically it. It's good when your run is really bad and has no damage, and when your run has damage, you're just going to bulldoze the Leech Mask and kill everything anyway. But it's not so bad. It can get you through some tough spots for sure. You stall around Leech Mask and it's okay, especially early on, because in 6 turns it'll just basically kill everything on Infernoco for you, and it blocks an enemy spawn. I don't need to say though, but I will say, just in case you're curious, this card is actually unplayable on the final boss. It has no room. No reason to put it out. Lumen Lantern situational. This applies a +1 to effects on one of your allies at random, and it applies a +2 to one of the enemy's effects on random. Step 1 to playing this card is put Cake Charm on it, and then step 2 is do some of the most broken shit of your life. It's okay, naturally. You can just give a +1 to like Nom and Stompy. Countdown 2 when a card is destroyed is pretty good, for example. But I think that if you blind pick this card, it's going to do nothing for you very often, and it's very crown hungry. All of these cards that have all these big crown requirements, the problem is you can't crown them early, and if you have a cursed crown and you need to put like 4 crowns together for a combo, you can't like cursed crown this card. It does nothing. You're so weak at the start of the run. So what do? And the answer is hold your crowns, die. I don't know. How are we doing on time? How are we doing on cards? Oh, there's a lot more. Wow. All right, I'm gonna start to rocket through these if you don't mind. I don't want to spend forever on this tier list. This is Magma Booster. Magma Booster is apply +3 attack and aimless to an ally. This card is pretty solid. Being able to buff one of your guys is good. The aimless is something that you can usually just not care about because the damage output's very high. You can't play this multiple times on a unit, so if you have a guy who is already aimless, you can't reapply this. This is very important to know against Bone Cats, because if you play a unit into Smog who applies aimless to all your units, you can't put Magma Booster on them, but you can put Magma Booster on units in your hand. You can also put like a Frenzy Charm on this, and if it goes and triggers multiple times, it will give you the attack increase multiple times. Mega Mimic is next. Mega Mimic is really, really good. 3 scrap health, 5 damage. Does big damage in the early game, tanks 3 hits for you in the end game. This card is extremely strong. Mimic, I'm going to give it just solid. Mimic's good if you have someone who attacks fast. If you have a fast attacking, like a Blunky, for example, this does big damage. One of the big problems with Mimic is that it dies in the mid-game a ton. Just gets obliterated by every single Teeth Charm, and then your damage output just crumbles. So you got to be a little careful of that. You can put charms on the Mimic, so like a plus attack charm is technically better to put on the Mimic, but Mimics are very fragile and you need to be careful of that. This is Mini Muncher. Mini Muncher is zoomlin, destroy a card. Don't do this. Just don't play this. Just do not play this. This is Mobile Campfire. Mobile Campfire is a 1 HP clunker that gives +3 attack to all allies in the row, and +3 attack to all allies in the row is a lot of damage. Kind of just makes you steamroll the early game, and sometimes actually makes you steamroll the end game too, because you can give it like a Lumen Vase and take it up to +6. +6 attack to a whole row is a lot of damage, so it's very good. Moko Totem, also very good. I think that if you are before the 4th combat, you have to think really hard about not clicking Moko Totem, because this is just a free kill on King Moko, and it blocks 2 hits for you with its 2 HP. So, yeah, just click this card. Don't really play around its effect all that often. The effect is when it reaches 10 spice, it triggers. It has 0 attack and attacks 5 times, so it'll do about 50 damage. Yeah, I mean, I just play it for the 2 HP. I don't know if I've had this thing proc in a while, but it is pretty cheap to proc it if you have Dragon Pepper. You can go Lumen Vase Dragon Pepper for 2 crowns, and then Moko Totem, and you do 14 times 5 to an enemy. It's not terrible, but I don't think I would recommend it. Not gonna rank the Lumen Vase, you know. Not really worth ranking. This is Molten Dip. Molten Dip is a consume barrage +2 attack. Solid. +2 attack to all allies in a row. Pretty good. Increasing your attack is good, and it's something that not many clans, or some clans named Shademancer, have no access to. So, you know, Molten Dip strong. Noomlin Biscuit, it's fine. One thing about this, Noomlin Biscuit, first of all, is apply Noomlin to a card. Noomlin cards don't cost you a turn when you play them. So you play this to make a card free, and then that free card basically gives you the turn back that you played for Noomlin. It's neutral action economy -1 draw, effectively, and then every time you draw that card in the future, it's plus action economy because you're getting to play an extra card on your turn for free. This card is good in small decks with cards that you want to play a lot of, and this card is really bad if it takes you a long time to cycle through your deck. But usually you should just build your deck to not have a ton of cards. In the end, you know, you get like a 7-card deck, you Noomlin a card like Snowstick, and then you can just perma-freeze things, for example. That's strong. One thing I think, though, is when you draw a Noomlin Biscuit, you should play it. You should pretty much always just put this on one of your cards unless your hand is really bad. This is Nutshell Cake. Nutshell Cake is 9 shell and -2 max HP. It does take your max HP, it doesn't just hurt you. And it consumes. It's fine. +7 HP on a target, pretty much. The -2 max HP doesn't matter. It's like extremely mediocre. Unless you have Chomp Palm, then it's super broken. Pepper Reaper deals 1 damage and then applies 4 spice. You basically hurt yourself to gain a bunch of damage output. Scaling your damage is good. Pepper Reaper is good. Pepper Flag is... I'm willing to give it really good. It's just a 1 scrap clunker that retains your spice. When it's good, it solos your run. When it's bad, it blocks a hit for you. Usually there are better clunkers to click on, but if you have any spice, this card is super powerful. My Tuos has gotten too big. Let me zoom out. That'll work. Pepper Ring is like... It's situational. This is apply 2 spice to all allies. The situation where you click this is that the other 2 cards are really bad and you have someone who just wants spice, like Foxy or any multi-hitter. If you have big, slow attackers, this card is pretty much worthless. But it is better to click this than it is to click on Scrappy Sword, so that is worth considering. When I put it like that, I kind of want to put it in solid, actually. That's pretty true. Pinkberry Juice, really good. +4 HP, increases your max HP by 4 as well, so you just heal up a bunch. Makes you almost unkillable in the first major fight if you click on Pinkberry Juice, and this card can effectively solo carry your run if you get the right charm setup for it. The right charm setup for it is Noomlin Aimless Charm. That is the Gnome Charm, so it goes twice, and then you just duplicate it. And then you are pretty close to unkillable if you can stop the scaling enemies. While we're on the topic, I'm actually going to rank 2 other cards a little out of order here. Shell Shield, apply 4 shell. Same basic premise as Pinkberry Juice. Almost, not even almost. It's exactly the same card. The only difference is that Shell Shield is in Snow Dwellers only. still really good, plus 4 HP. And Shellbow. Snow Dwellers only, but 2 damage to all your guys, heal, or 5 shell, good. Also, now that Cursed Crowns are in the game as the way they are, you can take this down so it only hits you for 1 by Cursed Crowning it, even better. Lumen Vase it, and suddenly you're going plus like 27 HP across your team on turn 1, which is pretty strong. Where was I? I was on Plinker. I think Plinker is really, really good. Plinker is a 1 turn timer, deal 2 damage and lose a scrap, and he has 5 scrap. You can silence him, so he just blocks 5 hits for you. You can Frostbite Chard him, which is going to make him attack every turn without losing scrap. You can just play him and then buff him, and he deals a bunch of damage. Strong pickup for sure. Pom Bomb, very situational, and by situational I mean you clicked this before Infernoko. This is deal 5 damage to all undamaged enemies. It's a hit 5, it's not a deal 5 damage. When I've said deal 5 damage or like deal X damage, I mean it's a hit effect, right? Like the little sword. Pom Bomb is... It has exactly one non-Infernoko use case. If you are playing Shademancers and you hit exactly Flameblade Charm, which is turn your attack into Overburn, and Frenzy Charm, which is trigger an extra 2 times and then consume, you can play Pom Bomb, Overburn, which is Flameblade Charm, Frenzy Charm, Lumen Vase, and that deals 10 Overburn 3 times to all enemies, which one-shots the final boss, unless they roll some health. It is an instant win. So, look out for that. Otherwise, click this if you think you're going to die to a bunch of Makokos, but sometimes you draw it late and then the Makokos are injured and you go, oh man. Palm Mask summons a little 4 HP enemy. I don't think it attacks, but I don't actually know. I don't need to know. While this guy's active, he gives your units barrage. I think that this thing is completely worthless. I can't imagine a universe where I would click on this. Although I might come around on this one because the barrage might just let you make a bunch of money early game, and maybe that's strong, but I think that it's just not very good. Portable Workbench. This is 1 clunk health, and it's reduce all recycle effect costs by 1. I just think this is fine as a chump blocker. I've never used the recycle cost effect down, and I don't know if I ever will. Proto Stomper deals 8 damage, gives you 2 trash. This gets to go above the Infernoko position because it does have a universe where it's good outside of Infernoko, and that's if you need the trash generation. Sometimes it's nice for that. Usually you use this because it just kills a Makoko. Being able to pick an enemy and do 8 damage to them is good, but this does also synergize with like Forging Stove, for example, so I think that it's worth just clicking Proto Stomper if you see it. Oh, also of note, I should say, Pom Bomb, unlike these other cards, is not clan locked. This can show up anywhere, so you can pick this with Forging Stove as well for a 5 to an ally. Scrap Pile is no consume, give an ally 1 scrap. I don't think I will ever put this in a run. It is not very good. Shade Clay, situational. It's make a copy of an item in your hand. This cannot be used on clunkers or units. It's only like cards, basically. This has basically 2 cases. Number 1 is you have the Zoomlin charm and the Boonfire charm, which is on consume 2 overburn to all enemies. Because if you can make 2 Shade Clays, that goes infinite, because you can just go Shade Clay over and over again. Option 2 is you have some sort of super powerful card. Typically, this is going to be a card that gets a Zoomlin Biscuit applied to it that you want to duplicate through Shade Clay. Usually, otherwise, this card is just not worth playing. Shade Wisp is it summons a 1 HP copy of an enemy, basically. So what this does is it either acts as a chump blocker for you or a unit that you can sacrifice. And it's okay. Yeah, I should give it a solid. It's okay. Usually there's better options for chump blockers. There's better options for sacrifice effects, but you can get away with it. I think it's alright. Yeah, it's alright. The ability to chump block is just by necessity pretty good. I just don't use it very often, I find. Sheephopper Mask. This summons a 4 HP guy on the other side of the board, and on death he deals 8 damage to all of his allies. This card, I could even go so far as to just put it in the Infernoco tier. It's pretty good at the very beginning of the run because it just gives you a lot of 6 kills. 8 damage to all enemies wipes the board for you, but in the end game it falls off super hard. So probably just click it early. It does make you a ton of money. Shroominator has 4 scrap health. He has some other card text on him. It's something like, when Shroom is applied, double it and lose 1 scrap health. Don't care about that. This thing has 4 scrap health. 4. It tanks forever. Shroominator's crazy. Like, click it every time you see it, sort of crazy. It's so healthy. Shroom Mine, 1 scrap health on death. Or no, it's when hit, apply 4 poison to the enemy that hit it. You can play this with a shell scaling setup, which is okay, but I mean, mostly this is just going to tank a hit for you and then kill an enemy in return, which is good. Skullmisty, situational. Kill an ally, give their attack to all allies. Super hard to click this card at the start of the run because there's nothing you can kill. You can't kill your own units with it because they come back injured and the injury lowers their health, or lowers their attack rather. So then Skullmisty is just working at half efficiency for no reason. So I don't recommend it for that. Yeah, it's okay if you have Shade Wisp, actually it plays pretty well with, but you don't really want to blind pick this card because it's super hard to play at the start of the run. Skull Muffin, this is a zoomlin card. I don't really know why it has zoomlin and not noomlin. I guess just because it's cool. But zoomlin is a single use free attack or free effect. This has consume and it says kill an ally. So basically you get to kill an ally for free. This card is good if you're playing Bird and you want to kill Bird really fast to scale it up for some reason, like Groff for example, or if you have Snuffer. And otherwise you should never click on this. I would, in no universe do you blind click this. This card is a curse sometimes. Or often, actually. Slapcrackers. Slapcrackers deals 1 damage to a random enemy 4 times. I know that some people, not some people, I saw someone say they think this card is S tier because of how many things there are in this update that have when hit effects. And it's true. Slapcrackers is good because you can put a cursed crown on it and then you can play something like Lupa and just get 4 free on hit effects right off the gate, right off the bat. Right out of the gate. Sorry, I'm getting my turns of phrases mixed up because I'm speaking so fast. The problem with Slapcrackers is if you click it early on, you're gonna die. This card is not playable in the first 3 fights. It's really, really bad because it attacks randomly. But other than that, it's pretty good. You can give it a increase of attack through like Durian Charm or Molten Egg Charm and it goes super crazy. Oh, sorry, did I say what it does? It does 1 damage 4 times randomly. It's aimless. It's okay. You just have to make sure that you can actually survive to play it. Snuffer Mask, almost god. New card. It summons a 4 HP guy, no attack, no turn timer. When he's sacrificed, he gives your team +1 attack, and then he resummons himself. This card is almost run defining. There are situations where it's bad though, so it doesn't get to go in the god tier. If you have a unit or a way to sacrifice this repeatedly, this card is, and it opens up so many build paths, right? You can click on every single kill an ally card with Snuffer Mask. Plays with Monch super well. It's like, Snuffer Mask redefines how Shademancer plays as a clan, and that's pretty good. But the problem is that if you don't want to sacrifice, this card is completely worthless. Like if you don't have something for sacrifices, if you're playing Overburn, for example, this card is absolutely useless, which is why I'm not going to put it in the very top. But it is strong throughout the run. It's a 4 HP chump blocker at the worst case, and in a lot of cases, it defines how your run plays, which is cool. Yeah, the end. I feel like, oh, I didn't mention it has consume. You can only summon 1 of them. There's also some weird bugs with it, like if you put Frenzy on a kill card, like I put Frenzy onto Agile Skull once, and it's super inconsistent on if it kills your guy multiple times or not. Like one time it did kill my guy 3 times, one time it did not. Sort of inconsistent. So be aware of that. Just stay away from it. Snowcake, apply 10 snow to an enemy, or no, apply 10 snow, consume. I'm not going to talk too much about why this card is so good. You pick an enemy and they are out for 10 turns. Gives you a lot of time to do whatever you want. End thought. Soulbound Skull's really good. Soulbound Skulls puts Soulbound on an enemy and an ally. You get to choose the ally, but it puts it randomly on the enemy. What this does is when either Soulbound target is sacrificed, the other one takes 100 damage. This card deals a lot of damage and lets you just kind of kill one of the final boss pieces at any point for free. As long as you can put like 2 crowns into Soulbinding, which is good. Sometimes you get like a Frenzy Charm, and this is then solo winning you the run because it kills 3 or 4 guys. And the reason I think that this card is so strong is because I think Shademancers has a lot of tools to just get to the end of the run. It's very easy to stall through hard fights with Shademancers, and then Soulbound Skulls just wins you the game. So I would suggest clicking on Soulbound Skulls a lot. Spice Sparklers apply plus, I think it's +3, it's +2 or +3 attack to your items while this is active, and one clunk HP. It's fine. You could go so far. I wouldn't call it really, really good. I think it's just fine. It makes the early game stable, blocks hits for you later. You know what? I'm going to put it up here, actually. I think it is pretty good. It's kind of disingenuous to not call it really good, because you click this early, and it just kind of crushes Infernoku. You get to one-shot so many things with this. Yeah. Be aware, this card plays very poorly with Shellbow. The end. Spice Stones, situational. You can blind pick Spice Stones because it does apply. It gives you 2 spice to a target, but it's probably not worth it unless you have spice. If the other cards in the pick are not very good though, if you're looking at some like really horrific pick, you can just blind pick Spice Stones because there is enough ways. There are enough ways to get spice that you can probably just make do with Spice Stones. That's maybe my hot take, but yeah, it's okay. When I first did this tier list, I actually just skipped Spore Pack completely. I forgot it was in the game. If the other cards are terrible and you're in the first like 2 fights, or within the first 2 areas, I should say, you can click on Spore Pack because it's okay. It's better than clicking a Scrappy Sword, but not by much. Yeah, not by much. Stormbear Spirit, it's okay if you're at the start of the run. If you're really worried you're going to die to Infernoku, this card is okay because, again, you can take 2 turns, just pick an enemy and kill them. It's a little better if you have snow from your units because then you can actually play it on snow-resistant enemies, but the trick of Stormbear Spirit is that if you don't have a way to apply snow from your units, you can't actually play this onto someone who has snow resist because the snow wears off before you put it on. I don't click on Stormbear Spirit very often. I think you can be pretty greedy with it at the start of the run and not pick something like this because it falls off super hard. But, you know, you do what you want, pretty much is my feeling. Storm Globe is really, really good. Applying snow to the enemies is very strong. It would be odd for me to rank any snow card below really, really good except for Super Snower. The only thing about snow is that most of the clans start with it. Actually, you know what? Sorry, my fault. Also, Yeti Skull is not very good. We'll talk about it when we get there. Being able to slow the enemy's turns down is good. Send tweet. Next option. Sun Cream is solid. It's not too hard to get the cost of this paid for. I think I forgot to talk about what these cards did. By the way, Spore Pack is 2 poison to a row. 2 poison barrage. This is deal 8 damage to frozen enemies. This is apply 4 snow and then reduce this number by 1. And Sun Cream is reduce the turn timer by 1. So if you have a 4 countdown, it goes down to a 3 for the rest of the fight. But it costs 1 junk. It's very easy to hit the requirements to play Sun Cream, and then just reducing one of your characters by 1 is strong. Yeah, it got a little worse, I think, in this update. I don't really find myself comboing pieces together to make a super Sun Cream and turn someone from a 5 to a 1, because there's just better things to do with your crowns. Primarily, I think that these big like combo pieces, like I said, they just get a lot worse when you have Cursed Crowns, because it's hard to put a Cursed Crown onto Sun Cream at the start of your run because you don't have junk for it. So, I wouldn't suggest it. But it's still fine to just take and then play a -1 on someone who's attacking frequently anyway. And sometimes it's run defining. Sunglass Chime, when destroyed, trigger all allies. This is... it's real fucked up. I have a whole sticky note here of interaction timings. Sunglass Chime goes after enemy triggers. So if an enemy is attacking into Sunglass Chime and they have like a mimic behind them, the mimic will finish its attack before you go. Otherwise, you will interrupt everything else. Oh, you'll actually get smacked back too, I think, but that can't happen. I don't know how that would happen. Don't worry about that. That interaction I don't think can happen. Anyway, being able to make all of your units go at once is very good. You front load your damage, you put yourself very far ahead of the enemies, you give yourself like 4 free turns for the price of 1 chunk blocker. It's crazy. It's super, super powerful. Super Snower, situational. This is apply 3 snow in a barrage, and it costs 2 junk. You have to recycle 2 for it. The problem with Super Snower is twofold. One, in the final fight where snow is most important, barrage snow is not very good because there are 2 targets that you need to put snow on, either the jailer or the junker, and they are opposite each other, and you don't really care about snowing anything else. So, I said the jailer, sorry, I meant the crusher and the junker, my fault. So it's not great there, and it's also got this big cost of recycling cards. So the only price where you would pick this is if you are making a ton of junk. If you're sure you're gonna always have the junk for this, then it's okay. What's next? Tiger Skull. Look, I'm gonna put it honestly. I've played this game for 500 hours. I have never clicked on this card. It's the only card, other than, like, the only card that's been in the game for a long enough time for me to say this. I have never, ever clicked on Tiger Skull. I know, even with this update with Snuffer Mask, there's this case where you would play with Snuffer Mask. Just don't. I really don't think you should. I have never done it. I don't believe you should do it either. You can't click this early. Killing an ally for, sorry, what this does is it's kill an ally, apply, I think it's 3 teeth to all allies in the row. Teeth sucks. Killing your ally sucks. And don't do this. Tigress Mask. I'm just gonna put it in situation. Well, it's a chump blocker. I should put it in solid. I don't know. I don't like doing this. Now, you know what? I'm putting it in situational. I'll talk about why. So Tigress Mask is a 1-time summon, 4 HP. Whenever an ally or Tigress takes damage, or is hit rather, he gains 1 teeth. Teeth builds are bad. It's just really hard to build enough teeth for a meaningful number to hit in the final boss. So that's point 1. Point 2 is that the Tigress Mask is in a clan where chump blocking is already super easy because you start with Jun. So it's 1-time chump blocking is just not very good. I don't think this is worth adding to your deck, but I guess you can if it's super desperate or you just like it. Again, if you like teeth builds, you should play them. Don't let me stop you. You're just going to find yourself getting killed by the Frost Guardian a lot because teeth builds are really bad at that fight. Okay, next is Sunlight Drum. Sunlight Drum is a turn timer countdown by 1 barrage. You click Sunlight Drum if you have 1 unit that needs to go very often, and it's the only thing you think about. The only thing you care about is making one of your units attack, then you play Sunlight Drum. It's also okay if you give it a Lumen Ring, but I don't think I would recommend that very often. Mostly, you just click this, you have like a guy who's on a 3-turn timer like a Foxy. All that you need to do is have Foxy attack, you play Sunlight Drum, win the game. Win the game faster. Tutorian, this is 3 scrap HP, it's a 3-turn timer, and when it attacks, it triggers one of your allies. It doesn't actually hit the enemies, it just makes one of your allies go at random, and then it loses 1 of its scrap. This thing's pretty good. Sometimes 3 HP, right? It's gonna tank about 2 hits for you, usually because it's gonna spend 1 of its scrap HP. And then sometimes you can play this with like an ICGM and just trigger that. You can play with Alloy and go nearly infinite depending on how Alloy hits. Basically depending on if you have other Clunkers out or not. But that's also pretty cool. I don't know, it's a cool little guy. It's a fun pickup. Goat Totem, really good. When an enemy attacks, apply 1 Demonize, 1 scrap HP. The demonized value is very good at the start of the run. Lots of bonus damage, and then it chumps blocks for you in the late game. Demonize is just a very strong mechanic in general. End tweet. Yeti Skull, kill an ally, apply, I think it's 4 snow to enemies in the row across. I'm pretty sure that's what it does. I'm actually gonna double check that. I don't know for sure what Yeti Skull does, and I want to be sure. I'm pretty sure of that. but I will double check this one because it does matter very slightly, more than pretty much anything else. Yeti Skull, it's kill an ally, apply 3 snow to enemies in the row. So it's the row across from them. I don't know. Yeti Skull is like, it's still situational. If you have a way to, basically, if you have Bird or Snuffer, the ability to kill them and then get some value that is not bad for it is okay. Otherwise, don't click this. Just don't click on the kill yourself cards. It's not worth it. This is Zoomlin Nest. Zoomlin Nest is, it's like solid. I don't know. No, you know what? I'll give it really good. It is pretty strong to be able to play all your clunkers for free. That's the important thing. This applies Zoomlin to your units when you draw them. So you draw a unit and then you get to play it for free, but it doesn't get to keep being played for free. If Zoomlin Nest dies, the Zoomlin is still gone, right? So you have to draw it again. The only bad thing about Zoomlin Nest is it does not apply to cards in hand. So you pretty much have to crown this. However, if you do crown this, you get to play out all of your units for free. I talked about a combo earlier with Chrono, which is pretty nice, where you can play this and then play your units for free and get value for that, which is true. I mean, it does indeed work. I don't really have anything, like, that felt like nothing. I'm an hour and 10 minutes of just non-stop yapping. I don't have any insight about Zoomlin Nest that I haven't already said. How many times am I gonna say the Clunkers take hits for you and that's pretty good? Actually, no more times. Let's finish this one up. Ready? Zoomlin wafers. So here's the deal. I think that a lot of people, how do I want to put this? How do I put this in a nice way? People who play Wildfrost and watch my videos sometimes, I think, like to take what I say out of context, or alternatively, I say things in a very extreme manner because it's fun, more or less. It's fun to have wild opinions. And maybe at one point I did say Zoomlin Wafers sucks. The reality of Zoomlin Wafers is that when you click on this card, there is something that you are giving up to take Zoomlin Wafers. In a vacuum, if you could just put Zoomlin Wafers in every single deck at the start of the run, I think that your deck would be stronger, right? You don't lose anything, you just add Zoomlin Wafers. Your deck is stronger. This card does not hurt you, except for one specific situation, which I'll talk about here in a second. That being said, when you're giving something up for Zoomlin Wafers, it is not good to pass on actual power for something that doesn't really give you anything. So basically, when Zoomlin Wafers says, apply Zoomlin to all cards in hand, Zoomlin is a one-time Noomlin, so you play it, it's free one time. So you get to play your hand for free. You have 6 cards in hand, right? Let's talk about the basics here. In the early game, this card is very bad because you're never going to have more than 6 cards in hand. And a lot of times, those cards are going to be Scrappy Swords or Junk or Tarblades, and you don't want to play those. So playing Zoomlin Wafers is not worth it because you're giving up a draw for Zoomlin Wafers, and then you're playing 5 cards for free. Probably of those 5, you maybe wanted to play like 2 or 3. And then you're pressing the redraw bell, right? And like, it's okay, but imagine instead of that, right? Just a hypothetical. Instead of this, right? Instead of clicking on Zoomlin Wafers, you could click on, I won't even pick a crazy example. I'll just click on like, you know, Leech Mask, for example, even. Instead of getting to play cards that you were already gonna play for free, you could play a unit that is going to, over time, kill all of the enemies for you at the start of the run. It's a lot better to take something like that. You don't gain anything for playing Zoomlin Wafers typically. That being said, there are situations where it's good. If you have a lot of card draw and you're later in your run, Zoomlin Wafers is good. If you are playing a Junk Exodia build like I was talking about with Bomb Barrel, it's also very good with that. But I don't think I would ever blind pick this card. So yeah, I don't really want to say anything else about Zoomlin Wafers. Hopefully, look, If you click on zoom in wafers because you think it's fun, please do. Continue. I don't mind. Do whatever you like. Have fun in whatever way you want. But especially at the start of the run, when your deck is still very bad, you should not click this card. Unless the only time it's really okay to blind pick it is if you're playing Clunk Masters, because they have a lot of access to card draw and just generating extra cards that you want to play. So now I will say what you all wanted to hear. I'll put a timestamp to this point right here. Zoom in wafers, sorry, right here. In case you just skipped right to the end of the video to see this part, here you go. Zoom in wafers is the worst card in the game. It has absolutely no reason to be here, no synergies, no purpose. It does nothing for you. And here, let me 1 second. Sorry, I didn't think this went through. And also, and this will go well in the thumbnail too. Also, it pushed me down a flight of stairs. Zoom in wafers killed me in real life. I was killed and murdered by these cookies, and it was real fucked up that people keep telling me, oh, it's not that bad. It killed me. I'm dead now. I'm a ghost. I'm stuck in the machine. Help me. Zoom in wafers killed me and trapped my immortal soul in this computer, and now I have to make Wildfrost content forever. It's crazy. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you did enjoy this. I try to keep these relatively helpful. Maybe I'll do a video on the bosses. I've seen a few people ask about those, and I don't know. I'll think about it, more or less. It's a lot of talking, but I like yapping, and I think it's a good time. And, yeah. Anything else I want to say to you? No, I mean, look. If you watch this video all the way to the end, you're a real one, and I trust that you can use your brain power to figure out how to improve at these games. So, this is just a nice little starting point for you, I think. I hope you have a nice day. So long.